Hello and welcome to another short drawing lesson. This week, in honour of the great Marcello Gandini, we're going to draw the Lamborghini Countach, which you might think is easy because it's got loads of straight lines on it, but actually all of those straight lines are slightly curved, which makes it really difficult. But we'll try our best. So remember to draw lightly, and we'll draw our front wheel over here. Next, we'll do another wheel, 2 and a bit wheels further back. So there's 1, 2 and a bit. This one could be a tiny bit bigger because they put bigger tyres on the back. Next we've got a horizontal line level with the centres of your wheels, should be at the bottom of the door, and another line halfway between that and the floor, bottom of the car. Now for the overhangs at the front we need about 3/4 of a wheel, and you want that to be just a mark, to be just 3/4 of a wheel in front and just a tiny bit higher than the centre of your wheel. Should be about there. That would be the tip of the nose. You've got a sort of a sloping section, and then it comes down and heads off towards the back. It's got a slight curve on it already, and it's not as low as the centre of the centre section here. Keep it a little bit higher. At the back, we've got about 2/3 of a wheel. There's one wheel, there's 2/3, and we want to point just a little bit lower than the tyre, top of the tyre there, about there. And again, that will curve down to sort of head towards this line here. Now we've got a tricky feature line that runs all the way across, waving across these wheels. So we've got one starting at the nose here. It's going to arc across the top of the front wheel, quite close to it. The highest point will be just a bit behind the front wheel. Then it will drop down a little bit and dip here, and then it's going to head upwards again and cross the highest point above the back wheel here, just about level with the centre, and it's about this kind of height. Was that 1/4 of a wheel? So let's have a go. So a curve there, then a level dip, then heading up to the back, and then it dips down again. We need a bit of a straight section here. So quite a tricky curve, that one. And you can double it up a little bit, just because it's a box sort of section. So add a little bit of extra thickness there. Hopefully that's good. So let's see, we'll put the door in, which involves a curving section that runs quite close to your front wheel there, and another one about a wheel further back, which again has got a curve. When it comes up to here, it leads into the B pillar, and it's almost vertical but not quite. So we've got a little pair of parallel lines there, just slightly tilted. For the A pillar, it's really flat. It's almost the same angle as this front of the car there. So we'll do something like that. And we'll give it a bit of thickness. And then this section here is going to be horizontal. And then after that, it's going to drop down. But we need to give our roof a bit of thickness as well. Not much. And that's going to drop down, but we'll give the tail a bit of an angle there. And that will slope down to there. So it's a subtle curve. It's not just straight lines everywhere. Looking all right, I think, so far. Let's see. It's one of the hardest ones I've done, I think. Next we'll put in some details, and I suppose we ought to do the classic one, which is this rear wheel arch. So here we need to head off this way a bit first, and we chop the top of this tyre off. There's a bit of a normal arch, And we've got an angle just ahead of the wheel here, which comes back on itself, and then a straightish section. Pretty tricky, that, but a great design clue for this car, isn't it? We could add a little bit of a shadow across the top of the front wheel there. There's a little bit of a intake or something there. Not sure what that is. Oil cooler, perhaps. And from the windscreen here, we've got the section of the window that you can actually open. And then behind here, we've got the airbox. So that starts sort of, if you come level with the centre of your rear wheel up to here, your box has got to fit in this section here. See if you can draw a nice sort of tapering box. And in front of that is a kind of sloping glass window. A bit like that. And now I think we're ready to do the fun stuff and make it look nice. So we've got the basics down. So we'll put the floor in. And this is where I'm going to start pressing a bit harder. So we'll show the wheels on the far side of the car. We'll darken the underside because it was in shadow. Wheels on the far side. Darken the shadow on the floor. Can start shading some bits in. So anything that's the underside of something can be a bit darker, a bit firmer, because that will be a shade line. We can put a shadow across the top of that wheel. And all this can be carefully shaded in. You don't want to get slapdash with your shading because it will just make everything look a bit messy. Now we've got an air intake, an NACA duct, which is this kind of this curving shape which sits directly halfway across that door join. And again, you can darken the top edge of it because that would be casting a shadow, and you can shade all of that in dark. And there's a little Bertone badge. This section here can be dark too, as can the air intake, the air box. Maybe a little bit less dark there. And we can show the underside of the roof in there. I think this might be the Periscopo model, which has an actual periscope that looks through a gap in the roof there to be able to, for the rear view mirror. And the steering wheel is just here. Doesn't forget our pillar. Windscreen wiper. Indicator in there. We can darken the underside of the front. A bit underneath. Nice big exhaust under there. And that shadow across the front wheel. And we'll add a bit of detail to these wheels, just to show they've got these nice slotted alloy wheels. And I think that's pretty much it. I think we just about got away with it. It's definitely a difficult one to get right. It might take you a few tries. It took me a few tries. Right, hope you enjoyed that. Tune in again next week for another one. Until then, have a great week. See you soon.